In today's show, the owners of Portland's WNBA franchise have filed a lawsuit that could complicate the sale of the Trailblazers. It's getting a little messy. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard, Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, so make it a part of your daily routine, make it your first listen, and tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking about a messy court case that we don't have all the details yet, but certainly it seems to complicate the potential sale of the Trailblazers. Not outright halt it, probably, based on what we know right now, but certainly complicate the closure of the sale. We will get into all of that. The owners of the Portland Thorns, that's the local soccer team, and the WNBA's Portland Fire have filed suit against part of the pending ownership group of the Trailblazers. We'll get into all the details, what it means, and how it could potentially impact the Trailblazers in the sale, and also the basketball stuff that's going to happen this season. Let's get into the nitty gritty. This was first reported by Law 360, a website that tracks these high profile corporate law cases. I read about it in the Oregonian. For full disclosure, Law 360 has a paywall that I did not go behind. The Oregonian has a paywall that I went behind. Support local journalism, I guess. So I'm mostly citing from the work of Oregonian reporter Matthew Kish, but I will obviously credit where credit's due. Law 360 had it first. So here's the deal. Yesterday, I guess you were listening to Thursday, September 25th's program. Tuesday, September 23rd, it became public that the Raj Sports Holdings LLC, which is the group that owns the NWSL's Portland Thorns, the group that purchased the Portland Fire and will operate them when they begin play next season. I guess they're operating them now, but they're not playing basketball just yet. Backed by a brother and sister duo, Lisa Bethal-Mirage and Alex Bethal. They have filed a suit. They have that aims to stop Andrew and Peggy Churn from being involved in the Blazers ownership group backed by Tom Dundon. So there's a lot. There's some moving parts here. Let me unpack it as much as we know. What the language states is that they, quote, breached a July 24th confidentiality and exclusivity agreement. So clearly, the reporting suggests that the lawsuit is only and specifically against Andrew and Peggy Churn. Who are Andrew and Peggy Churn? Well, they are the husband and wife duo behind Panda Express, the Churn Family Trust. It might be Churn, is probably a closer pronunciation. I'm going to say Churn because when I watched some videos of their names being pronounced Churn. If I'm getting it wrong, let me know. But the Churn duo, the Churn Family Trust, they own Panda Express. This is the wealthiest part of the Blazers ownership group, at least publicly wealthy as far as we know. I'm a little skeptical of the Forbes valuation of billionaire stuff, but Forbes has them at $7.5 billion. Cool. They're from what we know publicly, the wealthiest part of the Blazers ownership group, and that ownership group became public in the middle of September when the Blazers announced that Tom Dundon and his group had reached a formal agreement to purchase the team. But the team has been for sale since May, and the process was coming together over the course from about May until mid-August when we found out that it was reported publicly before any formal bid was signed, but it was reported that first by Sportico that Tom Dundon had indeed agreed to purchase the Trailblazers, and he's the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes. And what Dundon did between sort of middle of August to the middle of September was build out his ownership group. And sometime prior to this information becoming public, there is some sort of confidentiality and exclusivity agreement that the Churns, who eventually joined the Dundon ownership group, and it's unclear exactly when they did, reportedly, or I guess not even reportedly, allegedly violated. That is what this lawsuit states. So what the hell is going on here? Because there's a lot of names, a lot of just sort of like rich people doing stuff in the court. Here's kind of from the reporting from the Oregonian. This seems to be what the deal is. Back in August, when this first became public, this was August 13th, I believe, we learned that Tom Dundon was going to buy the team. The Oregonian reported that day in their initial reporting, or maybe like their tertiary reporting, but by the end of that day, like by the story that was like updated online by the end of that day, that Raj Sports was known to be making a push to purchase the Trailblazers and keep them in Portland. That was reported, back in August when this Dundon news first came out. Oh yeah, Raj Sports wanted to be involved. They aren't involved. They aren't the ownership group. Their bid did not win out. I don't think we know their bid, but let's assume for the purposes of this that we'll call it competitive. The Blazers are pending sale for $4.25 billion, I believe first reported by The Athletic. But like they're let's assume the Bethal's bid is like in that range, right? Even if you want to say it's less, let's call it $4 billion. But let's say they made it a competitive bid. From what this reads like, the Bethals make this. The team is for sale. The legal group, the law firm that is helping the Allen estate sell the team, is reaching out to prospective buyers and probably connecting with people that they already know who are in the sports world. Dundon had worked, I believe, with this law firm in his purchase of the Carolina Hurricanes. So like he's familiar with them. Like it seems like he probably got into contact with them fairly quickly. The Bethals or Raj Sports Group, they're deep in the sports world. Like they outright own the Portland Thorns and recently purchased them. That's the National Women's Soccer League team here in Portland. They made this bid to purchase the Portland Fire, and they're going to operate the WNBA team here. They are minority owners of some extent in the Sacramento Kings. So like they have a strong sports portfolio. They kind of fit the bid of sports team owner, right? And you may recall, if you're an everyday listener, and I know many of you are, shout out to my everydayers, that when the Bethals first bought the Portland Fire, what I speculated on this show is like, do they have enough money to buy the Blazers, right? Like it's unclear, a lot of this stuff is unclear, but could the Raj Sports Group get involved and like become a buyer for the Blazers? And I think the answer that we learned some months later is, boy, did they want to be. Boy, did they want to be. And there's some stronger reporting from the Oregonian that we'll get to here in a moment. So now after the Raj Sports Group, now that they've decided that they're going to file suit, right? They're taking a portion of the ownership team to court, but specifically a portion of it. Not Tom Dundon, not the Allen Estates, not any entity related to the Trailblazers, not any of the other entities related in the sale. None of them are named in this court filing. None of them are named in the lawsuit. The people who are named in the lawsuit are the founders of Panda Express, Andrew and Peggy Churn. So, why are they doing this, and what might it mean? Join me in the second segment. We will do some speculating and sort of unpacking the news. Join me there. First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff. All of the kickoffs with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. So however you like to wager, you can do it on FanDuel. Whether you want to bet player props, whether you want to build elaborate same-game parlays, or you want to jump in on the action and bet it live as the game unfolds, you can do it all there on FanDuel. It adds another layer to what you're already doing. Like, if you're a big sports fan, I bet you are. If you're listening to this program, FanDuel gives you sort of another way to appreciate the action. So are you ready? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right. So there's only one portion of the Dundon ownership group is named, right? Only one portion of the Dundon ownership group is named. I think that's an important part of the reporting here. The lawsuit is about the Churns. Why would they do this? What's going on? Well, I want to quote a passage from the Oregonian here because I think this explains why it's happening. So this is join me back in August. Becomes public that Dundon's going to buy the team, and this is the scene that unfolds, quoting here from Matthew Kish's story in the Oregonian. After that moment, insiders described a fierce battle for control of the team between Dundon and Raj Sports. One source described it as, quote, hand-to-hand combat behind the scenes as Raj worked multiple sources. As Raj worked, multiple sources told the Oregonian/Oregon Live to leapfrog Dundon even after the NHL team owner had apparently become the Allen Estates' preferred buyer. So my read is this. So that's the actual reporting. That is what we know is that the Raj Group wanted to purchase the team. And we've known that for 6 weeks, right? That they were one of the groups that was going to make a serious bid. I don't know, maybe it hasn't been reported serious, but based on the way it was reported at the time the deal came out, I'm going to say they're named, they're outwardly named in the initial reporting as hey, there was some, the Oregonian says they don't know how many groups were involved in the bidding to buy the team in addition to Dundon, but they know the Raj Sports was definitely one of those groups. Again, we'll use the assumption competitive offer, right? They're trying to make a competitive offer. And then once it becomes public that, the Allen Estate is going to go with this Dundon offer and eventually they're going to sign a sale agreement in September, or in the coming months or coming weeks. And then the Raj Group is going to full, quote, hand-to-hand combat. I'm going to guess that's just a funny turn of phrase. I'm imagining Lisa Bethal-Mirage and Alex Bethal trying to move to somewhere in suburban Dallas and fight Tom Dundon, or move to, I guess, Southern California and fight Andrew and Peggy Shern, because that's hand-to-hand combat is a specific thing, right? It does mean a fist fight. So it seems to me that they really want to purchase the team. They realize they're going to get beat out to purchase the team. Okay, what are your other options? Well, one of them is to block the big money folks from joining the group. And we didn't learn about this big money group. It wasn't initially reported by anyone. Nobody had that the Sherns were part of the group until the press release came out from the Allen Estate. Hey, we've reached an formal agreement to sell the team to Tom Dundon, and here's the other parts of this ownership group that's going to purchase the team. And that's when we get the names Andrew and Peggy Shern. That's when we get the Panda Express information, the Churn Family Trust, right? And to me, what this reads as is perhaps during the lead up to this becoming public in mid-August, that Andrew and Peggy Shern had been at least in conversation with the Raj Group, at least in conversation with them. And my read is that because it's confidentiality, and then here's the big one, exclusivity agreement. Did they have an exclusive agreement to be part of the Raj ownership team? And when that team when that bid fell through, the Churn said, yeah, we still want to be involved in owning an NBA team. It's a really good investment. These things always make money. We'll just join the other group. And is that the wrench here? Is they're saying, that's my read. That's my sort of cynical read based on the language of the reporting, is that this is the Churns were potentially involved with and we'll know more. All of this, why we don't know exactly right now is because the court documents are sealed according to reporting from the Oregonian. The assumption is that these will become unsealed and we'll have better idea of the specifics of the case, and what exactly the lawsuit alleges moving forward. But that's my read based on that word exclusivity agreement, right? And it's only tied to the Churns. I think this is to slow the process of the sale closing, right? Because we already the goal is for the sale to close in the end of March, according to reporting from Jason Quick of The Athletic. The target date is March 31st, 2026, although the Dundon Group hopes to close sooner because of course they freaking do. But the end of March, right? During the regular season, they would aim to close. But this lawsuit, if nothing else, can slow the sale. And then more importantly, it could add a complication into the sale, because if the churns aren't allowed to be involved, right? If that's all it does Tom Dundon's group have enough money to make this all happen without the involvement of at least what we understand it from the outside to be the wealthiest portion of the ownership group? I don't think we have an idea right now, and we may soon, because there's been some good reporting on this. I think the Oregonian has done a really good job reporting on this. But I don't think we have a good idea right now of the ownership structure of the Blazers. We understand kind of like how it's going to function, right? Like, it seems Tom Dundon is going to be the front man, right? He's going to pay, he's going to get up to his above 14%, 15% to be the ownership, be the governor, controlling governor of the team. But then where's the other 85% of the money come from? And who else is going to put in the money? And how much are the churns going to put in? How much are the other sort of, investment types going to, how much are the other parts of the ownership group going to invest? Like what is the breakdown of who owns what? I think we know who's going to be the face of the ownership group. It would be curious to me if someone becomes, if the churns are a majority owner, but someone else makes decisions with their money. That's always weird. But we don't know how much, will they make, I guess we don't, what we don't know reporting wise is what's the breakdown? How does the power structure work? Whom answers to whom? I think we have a very clear picture that it's going to be Tom Dundon as the face of things and as the person who, to the extent that media happens and does, and speaks for the group that owns the team, Dundon will be the person who does that. I will say he's fairly public in his media appearances with the Hurricanes, although he's not particularly public in the arena, but he does do a little bit of media. So I expect he'll do a little bit of media when he's here too. Tom, if you're listening, come on Locked On Blazers whenever you would like. But what I think what you are seeing here is a lawsuit prevented to slow the sale and perhaps complicate the sale because they're targeting the people with the most money, and it is put forward by a group that very clearly had intentions to purchase the team. And probably still does if they had them in freaking August, and now it's the final week of September. Yeah, I'm going to guess they still have those intentions, right? Like that if they could, they would. A small note here, and I do not think it really matters. I mentioned that the Bethals, or Raj Sports, is a minority owner in the Sacramento Kings, and obviously, maybe not obviously, you cannot be part of multiple ownership groups in the NBA. That is not acceptable. But they could divest, they could sell their shares in the Kings. If the part of the 9-month closing period, if Raj were to enter a sale agreement, part of the 9-month closing period would be divesting from the Kings, selling your shares, getting the money together and to actually purchase the Trailblazers. That would be, that is such a minor hurdle as to be unimportant, right? But it is at least notable as part of, as sort of so you have the full picture. I guess my question here, as we sort of have waded through all of this stuff, is is this going to have any impact on the basketball part of this? And by that, I mean roster decisions, things that happen heading into the season. Let's talk a little about that to close the show. Join me in that third segment. First, though, let's talk underwear. My underwear and what could be your underwear. SKIMS makes underwear for everybody. A brand maybe classically and famously known for making femme undergarments. Well, now they got a whole line of men's underwear. Listen, if you are familiar with the SKIMS brand, let me tell you, they're comfy. If you're unfamiliar with the SKIMS brand, let me tell you, they're comfy. SKIMS was nice enough to send over a couple of pairs of underwear, and let me tell you, they're very comfortable. They fit great, and I can. Here's the highest compliment I can pay them. I put them on in the morning. I say, boy, these are my comfortable underwear. I enjoy wearing them. And then I do not notice them for the remainder of my day, because the worst thing that can happen to you while you are living your daily life is have to consider your undergarments. Imagine doing anything, being at work, at lunch, meeting your boss or whatever, a family gathering. And you are sitting there I am now being forced to consider my uncomfortable undergarments. You're not going to have to do that with SKIMS, whether you're living an active lifestyle or very sedentary lifestyle, you're going to be super duper comfortable. Plus, you're going to find the fits that you need. They got men's underwear like boxer briefs. They got just straight up briefs if you're into them. They're stretchy. They're comfy. You're going to find them by going to skims.com, and you can shop their whole SKIMS Men's line. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select my show in the drop-down menu that follows. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. So, what is the Raj lawsuit going to, what impact is it going to have? I think that's the real question. Obviously intended to slow the sale, perhaps disrupt the sale for obvious reasons. I have my own speculation that I've shared with you publicly here. As the sort of lawsuit becomes public again, we probably won't do an entire show about it unless it's really juicy, and then we will. I like this. This is interesting in and of itself. But I think we kind of know why and the timeline of it, but what's the impact going to be here? Because my assumption is that when Dundon reached the formal sale agreement, that all of the Blazers' decisions would have to run through him. Not too dissimilar than when Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez were purchasing the Timberwolves, first on layaway, and then during an extended court battle, it took almost 3 full seasons for it to become fully finalized once the deal was in place. It always was supposed to be down the line, et cetera, but even then, it got into an extended legal battle during the sale of the team as Glenn Taylor decided, whoops, I don't want to sell this thing for $1.5 billion because it's probably worth $3 or more maybe. But even then, at least from the reporting, the Rodriguez-Lore team, the incoming owners who hadn't taken control and at that point hadn't even, I think, paid all of their money down to become the controlling owners of the team. They had merely agreed to it. They were reportedly at the time still pretty big proponents of the Minnesota Timberwolves trading for Rudy Gobert. And that was cashing in a bunch of draft picks, et cetera, right? That was a big swing. So my assumption is that nothing really changes here unless this gets messier. And because Tom Dundon is not named in the lawsuit, because the Allen estate is not named in the lawsuit, because this is specifically preventing one portion of the ownership group from joining the group, unless the churns are just vital and the bid cannot go forward financially without their presence, and we may learn that. We'll see, right? I would assume that this does not impact the Blazers in terms of roster and basketball decisions through the season. I don't, perhaps Tom Dundon is not interested in reaching and having the team reach contract extensions with Shaedon Sharpe and Toumani Camara. That's the first piece of business. And then once the train starts moving and the season starts, there's usually not a lot of in-season transaction stuff. First of all, that has not been the Blazers' MO under Joe Cronin, except for the first year when he was kind of tearing it down. But they haven't been super duper active in season. And NBA trades, while you will see the handful of, probably one pretty surprising trade happened in December, much more of the action happens into January and as we get closer to the trade deadline. So that will be much closer to the finalization of sale and probably much closer to a resolution or at least a clear direction with this court case. So my assumption here is that this has very, very little impact on the ultimate decisions and roster stuff the Blazers do. I do think incoming ownership will still have a great deal of say. Everything is going to have to go through them to some extent, right? I don't know if they will have carte blanche to say hell no, but as we get closer to March and a finalization of the sale itself, certainly you will, right? They will be able to make some decisions. I think the transition between Allen Estates and the Dundons will be curious, but I I imagine by signing the formal sale agreement in September, Tom Dundon is functionally going to be the lead decision maker for the Blazers, albeit not maybe in like the day-to-day stuff immediately, although we'll see, like, I guess we'll see what that looks like and what decisions those could happen. But the bigger picture stuff and who to give contracts to and some roster decisions to make, like, my belief is that by signing that formal sale agreement, you had already kind of said, yeah, I'm going to be involved in those decisions, and this won't prevent that. Unless this is the type of lawsuit that would make the sale fall through entirely. But I don't think from sitting here today, my guess, this is 100% a guess. This is not reporting. Sitting here today, my read on this is that this is more petty grievance to make the process harder to get through, to add a little bit of complications to the whole process in general for hopes that it last ditch effort to hopes it fall through. Like, this is the hand-to-hand combat, right? This is your you know what? We couldn't get it done prior to it, in July and before things went public. By mid-August, the Allen estate had decided that they were going to take Dundon's bid and not ours. What else can we do? And the Bethals, what else can we do? We can file this lawsuit against this portion of the ownership group because this is their last-ditch effort. We will see. I don't anticipate this, that right now it's unclear right now how much this could potentially interrupt the sale, but I do think it could complicate it. And by complicate, I mean slow. I mean, instead of having this thing close in March, it closes in friggin' July or something like that, right? Like you get that extended close because there's more stuff to work out. But in terms of basketball impact, I think very little. I think the same sort of ideas I had back in 2 weeks ago when the formal sale agreement was signed. Dundon's going to get full, he's going to have full, he's about to be in charge of this whole thing. So he's going to have full say over the personnel and changes that happen that way. He'll have eventually and maybe soon higher firepower, and then he'll be like the unquestioned leader of the team eventually. Although I think it'll be curious how the actual structure of the ownership group shakes out. And I bet we might get a little bit of detail about that during this, depending on how much truly becomes public with this court case and how far it gets, assuming that it ends up in court, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is going to do it for today's show. Tomorrow's show, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to talk about Media Day. Media Day is Monday. Media Day is Monday. That is the official start of the Trailblazers 2025-2026 season. I am so excited to talk basketball. I'm so excited to be able to watch basketball. Hoops is here. I've said it before. I'll say it again. My favorite part about the basketball is basketball. That's the part I like. Although I do find this sort of legal ownership stuff interesting. It is, I would say, a secondary interest. So tomorrow's show, we will talk about all of the things we hope to learn at Media Day, the questions that we hope get answered, the storylines to track, and what we want to learn from a day that increasingly we learn very little, but what to follow heading into Media Day, a preview of the Blazers, opening of the Blazers season. And then next week, it's freaking here. So get your popcorn ready and then tell your friends about the program. 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts, also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.